Good evening, Jenny. How are you? Good evening.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Jennie Oh Brown, the floor is yours.
All right. So I spent a lot of time this afternoon trying to get my mic to work and it wouldn't plug in. So if you don't mind, I'm going to drop the Bach. I'll do it some other time because I'd rather have a really good mic for Bach.
Okay.
But I am really excited to present for you guys today a piece by my wonderful friend and colleague, Shawn Okpebholo. It's called On a Poem by Miho Nonaka, Harvard Square. And it's just a piece that I've really grown to love. Gosh, I can't even count how many times I've performed it at this point. I really love advocating for my composer friends, and anytime I pick up a piece of theirs, I always try and, my number that I think of in my head is I try to play it 10 times in a season. So anyway, I've worked on this before and played it at the National Flute Association convention and certainly all over Chicago, and I'm happy to pick it back up again and perform it. It's really well crafted, it's really imaginative and full of just interesting sounds and motifs, and it's just always a pleasure to play great music, my good friends. And then I am also going to play for you guys Rapid Fire by Jennifer Higdon, which is a piece that it's actually not a recently composed piece. It's actually one of the first pieces that kind of really was at the start of her career. And many of you probably know that Jennifer Higdon was actually a very fine flutist. And she considers the very beginnings of her composing career to be writing flute music. And so Rapid Fire is a piece that is still getting a ton of play. And again, really well crafted, really well written. And sadly, I feel like it's appropriate to our time. And so I thought I would also present that piece as well. Does that sound okay?
Sounds wonderful.
Okie doke. Oh, before I begin, I should read the poem, Harvard Square. So Miho Nonaka is a colleague of Shawn's and mine at Wheaton College. And this is a poem that she wrote. I'll also read the note from the composer to give you some perspective as well. This composition, inspired by Harvard Square, a poem by the Japanese poet Miho Nonaka, is a work for solo flute, composed for and premiered by my friend Kane Thomason Rias. It was not my intention to text paint each word of the poem. Rather, I tried to evoke the essence of the poem's meaning in one word. Nonaka describes Harvard Square as being about resonance. A natural term in the music world, the term resonance, figuratively speaking, can also mean evoking images, memories, and emotions, which she gracefully achieves in the poem. This composition is for the virtuoso flutist, requiring the musician to perform various extended flute techniques, including bamboo tones, residual tones, pizzicato, jet whistle, tongue ram, multiphonics, singing while playing, key clicks, and flutter tonguing. I describe each technique in the score and include fingerings where appropriate. So here's the poem, Harvard Square. Like all leaves turned into birds overnight, waking to their voice from the wet branches of a tree marked with so many scars. Walking to the square and its promise of dripping coffee, street musicians and people reduced to speaking only with their hands, wrapped in unreliable mist. Whose soul is made of crumbs? There are those who play chess at Abampan, rain or snow, keep playing despite the clutter of words exchanged all around, gossips, dirty jokes, grades given and received. Across the street sits a Babel in a puddle, a bloated island for a flock of sparrows chattering and pecking busily. The diminishing kingdom all their own. I like how they pay no attention to my hungry gaze, how, having no individual names, they deepen my conviction of being a trifle. Such a relief it is to squat down beside them in their bumpy island, which is no beehive. Neither production nor symphony, just the giddy chaos and appetite of chiming peeps. Even a bucket makes music when raindrops fall in. The question isn't whether you are in a good place or a bad place. You happen to be in the right place. Harvard Square by Miho Nonaka. So that's on a poem by Miho Nonaka, Harvard Square. A fabulous piece.
Yes. Ooh.
Okay, and this is Rapid Fire by Jennifer Higdon.
Thank you, Jenny, so much. Ooh, that was sublime.
My heart is racing.
So is mine. Okay. Usually this is the time when I am at a loss for words, which is, here it is. I am still, apologies there at home. I'm still wrapped up in the emotion of what just conspired. I will give me a couple seconds here to gather myself.
Let me catch my breath.
Please do. And thank you all for joining us tonight. This is the humble program that I've decided to call Thursday Night Life Music, and tonight has been one of the very special ones. Jennie Oh Brown is here, and she just delighted us with some live music. If you all remember what that is, live music, there it is. And if you needed to be reminded of why we want it back and why we want to go out and be in the room with it, there you go. That's what it was all about. For myself, I can only speak about the creative side of that, and that means I was swept up. I was using very much just letting the paint do what it wanted to do in response to what Jennie Oh Brown was just doing, and it was an absolute thrill. Jenny, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Louis. Thanks for having me.
This is just and thank you for saying yes. I know that you are a busy person. You're a busy creative working in the field. One of the reasons, Jenny, I thought about this week, particularly for you, was because on my calendar, I think since last year, I'm getting myself excited about the Ear Taxi Festival.
That's right. It would have been this weekend.
Right. And for a while there, I was very, very geared up and just, okay, all right, Jenny's going to be taking it over. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. Gusty's got to be happy about this. If there's anybody who's going to take the baton from the wonderful Gusty Reed, this is going to be fantastic, and I'm thrilled. And I know, I talked to Miss Reed a little bit during the festival, and this is probably going back in 2016, and just hearing about what just a huge endeavor it was to put this together.
Oh,
and the fruits of that were just so fantastic, and really thinking, like, you can't do this every year, can you? It's got to take like a year and a half just to make half of this thing happen. So just the fact that it happened, and as a creative, it was really I was really in the throngs of really doing this live painting stuff. And it took me to another level of appreciation about Chicago and contemporary classical scene. So first off, thank you for taking the reins. And thank you for postponing it too. And I will say that with all due respect, because I love a lot of the virtual stuff. And what am I saying? I'm doing it myself. But I also, it's almost like, why would you want to open up a Christmas present from, 10 feet away? or from have somebody else do it for you? It's like, no, I want to be there. So how do you feel, Jenny, about how it's been? Anyway, just tell me your feelings about the festival in general.
Well, I have to tell you, so the team, it's definitely not just me. The team is Michael Lewinsky, Jessica Wolf, and myself. And then we also have an executive team of Amy Iwano, Amy Wertz, of course, president of New Music Chicago, Javier Beteta. And it's just been a wonderful project to embark on together, because those are all just dear friends of mine. They're brilliant friends of mine. I admire each one of them greatly, tremendously. I trust them immensely. So just working with such a fabulous team has been so much fun. But the truly the honor of taking Ear Taxi into this second iteration is something that's definitely not lost on any of us. We're really excited about it. I can tell you there are a lot of things that I can't share at this moment, and I'm dying to tell you guys all about it, because the artists, the venues, everything is just so spectacular. It's going to be a great showcase of not only Chicago music and artists, but Chicago neighborhoods and Chicago stories. And I honestly can't wait. And Michael Lewinsky as a curatorial director is just a dream. He's just absolutely incredible. And the way that he's piecing it together, it's like this giant, gorgeous mosaic, and it's really going to be exciting. As far as postponing it goes, I think some people may not realize that actually in a lot of ways we had wanted to do it in 2021 from the beginning. But for many reasons, we opted for 2020. And so for us, moving into 2021 is actually very comfortable. Like, it sits well in sort of my heart and, my I don't know, my concept of how everything should go. That being said, the planning to this point has actually gone extremely well. And so we feel like we're in a really good position. And I'll tell you, moving into 2021 actually opened some possibilities that were not going to be possible in 2020. And so that was a real positive as well. And I guess the one upside to the pandemic being literally a global pandemic is when we made the decision to postpone, there was literally not one question that it was the right thing to do. So all of our artists and all of our funders and all of our venues, they were like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that made the whole postponement process go very smoothly, all things considered. That being said, we had said, since it's postponed, let's take a little bit of a hiatus over the summer. Of course, that didn't happen at all. We just kind of kept working the whole way through. So we are really putting forth our blood, sweat, and tears to represent Chicago and to do well by all the artists. And I think it's going to be really exciting. We are looking at a best case scenario of a hybrid festival. We had actually always thought about the live streaming piece of it even before the pandemic hit. And so that's still something that's going to be in place. If things are not better, we will look at doing a live stream festival in 2021. But of course, we're all hopeful that by that time we can at least do somewhat of a live festival. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. But the official big giant launch of all the information will be somewhere in March or April. So about 6 to 7 months ahead of the festival, and then you'll be able to see everything that's been going on for the last year and a half planning.
So there's still no chance that you're just going to rattle off the names right now?
I tell you, I wish I could. It's like so exciting to me. I really wish I could, but.
I'm kidding, of course. Again, these are going to be little gifts, and we're all going to be looking forward to these announcements.
Absolutely. I can tell you that there were 110 proposals received by artists of just so many different aesthetics and just different everything. And there are 4 commissions that are going to be a part of the festival, and hence 4 big premieres of those commissions. So those kind of details I can share with you.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Jenny, this weekend, from what I hear, there's I guess it's a new music festival of sorts, and
right. Yeah.
I'm wondering, do you have kind of something to do with that, or at least you're supporting that, correct?
I'm going to go and be the biggest cheerleader of all of these wonderful artists that are going to go and perform tomorrow at Epiphany Center for the Arts, which everyone needs to check out that space. It is it's going to be everyone's favorite space. It is so unbelievably beautiful.
It's just when I see pictures of it, I haven't been there, but I see this like cathedral thing going on, because it's a church, right? Or it used to be.
It was, yes, correct.
So,
and the thing that I love, I love stuff like this, is every little teeny detail has been cared for. Like, there is not an inch of that space that you can look for and know that someone hasn't made some sort of aesthetic decision about how this should be placed and how this should be matched, and this is a remnant from the previous structure, and this is new. I mean, it's so thoughtfully executed. And on top of that, they've got state-of-the-art lighting, state-of-the-art text, state-of-the-art audio, and they're very, very progressive in terms of their COVID preparation and how they're handling the pandemic in terms of their audiences, and they're working with Our Concerts Live to do the live streaming and everything. So really, really fantastic venue. I think everyone should check it out.
Good. That was going to be one of my next questions, was going to be, as the sort of nebbish guy here who kind of did you do this? Did you do that? All that sort of stuff that I don't know, just want to be in place for me to do that. It's good to know.
Yeah.
You know.
So anyway. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it looks like they're really curating a lot of very cool things. Sort of just a sort of a pan of Chicago scene.
Yeah. Well, Mike Jeffers is the director of programming, and a lot of people will know him from the Chicago Jazz. I'm sorry, magazine.
Chicago Jazz Magazine.
Oh, there you go. I thought for sure I was missing a word in there, but I guess not.
He got that early on.
Yeah. So a lot of people know him from his great work with that, and he's just a very familiar guy around the jazz scene in Chicago. But he is really looking at a very eclectic mix of music at Epiphany, and he's a wonderful person to work with. So
that's very exciting.
Yeah,
Jenny, I miss this little thing tonight. Not only just having a conversation with you here, but painting to your sound. And by the way, I was listening to Giantess to get myself ready yesterday and today, setting up the studio. Birds of Paradise. It's just, I keep listening to it, and each time I'm hearing something new. And this is probably having listened to it for 10, 11 times over the course of the last few months, and since it came out. And that's what makes great art, is that when you come to it again, you go, oh, I didn't know that was there. Oh, that's interesting, and it pulls you back into the, as opposed to a story that you hear the story and you're like, okay, I got it, I'm done. It's a story that keeps on evolving. It's got this sort of Talmudic thing going on where it's like, okay, where is that going to take me? And it just makes me curious, which is very exciting. So thank you for that. That was.
Would you mind if I talked about that project really quickly?
Please do. Yes.
So Giantess was an album that came together in a really kind of peculiar way. It actually started with Valerie Coleman's Wish Sonatine. I heard my very good friend Jennifer Grimm perform it, and I literally had the response of, I have to record that piece. I'd never heard it before, and I was so smitten with it. I was sitting in my chair and I thought, I've got to record that piece. And it was really hard for me after my Schwantner solo album, because that was such a gratifying project that I kind of felt like I was never going to find something that gratifying again. And so I'd actually sort of resigned myself to maybe like that would just be my one solo album and that was it. And so I had this moment as I was listening to my friend Jennifer, who by the way is just a rock star, genius, beautiful flutist. And then I started to like I was really grasping this theme of courage and resilience, and very separate from that, Carter, Pan, and I started working together. I every now and then I get like these commissions that drop into my lap where someone's like, "Oh, can you find us a composer?" And of course, that's like the funnest thing in the world to do. And so that happened. And so I called up Carter, who was an old acquaintance of mine from back in my grad school days. And he, at this time, he had just been one of the finalists for the Pulitzer Prize. Henry Threadgill was actually the one who won it in 2016. And Carter was the finalist. And so his name was kind of fresh up in memory again. And so I called him up and said, "Hey, would you want to like write a chamber piece for us? I've got this commission." And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So he wrote this piece for us called Melodies for Robert, which was about just sort of the life of this local physician slash flutist named Robert Jones, who passed away in probably like his 90s. But back when he was in his 20s, he was supposedly in line to be principal flute in the CSO. But the war took him away, and then things moved in different directions. And when he came back, that position had obviously been filled, and then he decided to go to med school, and the rest is history. And so he made his living here in the western suburbs, and he would actually come to my studio at Wheaton and just like hang out. It was like the dearest, sweetest thing, and he just loved listening to the students. And so when he passed away, an organization called Soli Deo Gloria was going to be responsible for a commission that the family was leading to honor Dr. Jones's memory. And so they contacted me. And so they wanted something beautiful and melodic and wonderful. And boy, there aren't many people that can do beautiful, melodic, and wonderful better than Carter. So Carter wrote this trio for us. It was just, it makes my heart melt every time I hear it. And he told me about this commission with the Flute New Music Consortium, and he wanted me to premiere it at the National Flute Association convention. And sometimes you work with people and you just gel so well, and we did. And so I asked if he would be willing to be a part of this Giantess project. And Giantess to me totally fit that same feeling of courage and that same feeling of resilience and survival. And simultaneous to all this, I just kind of kept coming back to my grandmothers. And my grandmothers were both, they were so much more courageous than any minute of my life has ever required. They survived the war, they survived poverty, they survived depression. They survived, both of them at some period of their lives were single mothers. And yet, they both have these really kind of wonderful families and were these matriarchs. And, my memories of them are oftentimes really funny and very sweet. And I remember when my husband and I got married and my one grandmother said, "Aren't you going to kiss kiss?" Which I thought was like the cutest thing ever. So anyway, thinking about just this love that they brought into the world and what they had endured, all of a sudden the idea for the album really came together. And Augusta Reed Thomas has been such an incredible, in many ways, she's really been kind of a mentor to me in some ways. And I'm so appreciative of her music. She's been just a wonderful friend and so encouraging at every turn. And so I contacted her and I said, I'm starting to put this piece or this album together, and I just want something of yours on there. And she directed me to Plea for Peace, which was written for the CP1 reactor in commemoration of that for the University of Chicago. And what's interesting about that piece is that I've noticed that other Korean groups have picked up that piece. And I think there's something about it that really kind of resonates with that torn the history and the Korean War and that division between North and South Korea, and that even just the title, The Plea for Peace. And, I had also been working with my friend Miso Kim for many, many years, and she'd written Amazing Grace for flute, soprano, and piano. And I asked her if she would reset it for my album, and she was very gracious and did that. But to your original point, Shulamit's piece is the one that really kind of still strikes me, because that was another situation where I had a commission kind of fall into my lap that I could pass on to a composer. And it was for the Chicago Flute Club's 25th anniversary. I wasn't actually that involved with the flute club at that point, but they'd asked me if I'd be willing to help out with that. And I was like, sure. So I said, if you want a piece for flute and piano, you have to talk to Shulamit. I was like, you have to. And so I approached her actually a couple of times, because at first she didn't want to do it. Because she's, crazy busy and one of the world's most in-demand composers. But then somehow she agreed, and I was delighted. It was premiered by Mary Stolper, who's one of her very, very dear friends, and who's, of course, one of our cherished Chicago flutists. And the program notes are all about birds. It's like, this piece is about fantastical birds and their colors, and they're brilliant, and, et cetera, et cetera. So fast forward to, a couple of years ago, and Carter and I are working on this piece. And the second movement in particular, we're both like, this is not about birds. There's no way this is about birds. And somehow, I just knew that this fit into my album. And so I put it on the album. And after it was recorded and edited and everything, Shulamit was kind enough to have us over for tea. And, we were thinking we'd be there for 5 minutes and that was it. We ended up being there for hours. It was really fun and delightful. And because, like Gusty, I look at Shulamit as someone who's very special to me. I asked her flat out, I said, what is this second movement about? Because Carter's word that he used for it was transportative. It's just otherworldly. And I told her flat out, I said, there's no way this is about birds. And she said, well, and she told me the background of that second movement, which actually she allowed me to put in an interview that Innova Recordings has now shared, because that piece was chosen by Innova to go into the Grammy submission process. It's not nominated yet. It's just submitted for the process for the best contemporary classical composition. The whole album is all commercial premieres, but that one is in for the Grammy nomination.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and you're most welcome to find the interview on my Facebook page or on Innova's page. But in a nutshell, she had become very, very ill and was starting to receive treatment for her illness. And there was a nurse, so she was going to have to be in treatment for, I think it was 2 weeks or something like that. It was very serious. And there was a nurse who came up to her and said, is there anything I can do to make you feel comfortable? And she, totally joking, was like, well, do you have a piano? Because I have to compose a piece. I'm a composer. And he was like, I do. And it turned out that he ran a band in the hospitals to play for the patients. And she used this little Casio piano, composed the second movement. And she said when she got home, she was sure that, it would not be good. She wouldn't like it. She wanted to change this and that. And she sat down at her piano and she played it, and she basically left it almost completely intact. And I remember when she finished telling us about that, she said, I wasn't deliberately trying to write about my experience with this illness, but it doesn't surprise me at all that it ended up in the music. And like I said, my grandmothers had each suffered with different ailments, and it just was incredible to me that her music is so not only brilliantly written, but so transparent that even though there was no words about that Carter and I both sensed that it was going to sort of, I don't know, shine a light on that aspect of their lives. And the third movement, the final movement, is you take off like a rocket ship. And it's high voltage until the very, very end. And even that statement, to come from that second movement, that in itself, the pairing of that is so much about that same courage and resilience that I'd heard in Giantess, that I'd heard in Valerie Coleman's Wish Sonatine, and in Gusty's Plea for Peace, and in Misuk's Amazing Grace. So the album is very, very special to me, and it meant a lot to me that Innova was willing to submit it for the Grammy process. So the whole album is submitted for Best Classical Compendium, and then Shulamits is submitted for her piece for Best Contemporary Classical Composition.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Jenny. That's for a person who's listened to the record a few times. There's always been sort of like a I'm not going to say lightness, but a flightness, or like you said, a transportive element to it. But also, and this is the wrong word I'm going to say here too, but almost like a weight to it, where there's the tension of trying to go somewhere or trying to take flight, but also having, I don't know, gravity or whatever you have on you that's pulling you back the other way. And so that just perfect sort of like push and pull of that. The beautiful tension is like, okay, I got to hear this again and again, and I don't know.
Oh, Louis.
That's one of my things. It's you get into something and it's that's what great art is about, is as you go back to it, and then the more that you want to find out about it, the more you go, okay, well, just hearing you tell the story now is take it into another element. I mean, I do like experiencing art and visual art too, not knowing anything about it and putting my own layer of story on there. That's one of my things. I like to keep that bubble of inspiration available so I can fill it with my story, and then it's my piece of art and it's my piece of music. I am invested in it. But then I love, anyway, just thank you for sharing that. That's folks, again, just please explore this. I have it only digitally because I think I got it when it came out. But you can get it on CD, I'm assuming.
Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
And anyone that would like an actual hard copy CD, you can contact me because I have some. So speaking of great art, you may or may not know that I'm in my living room, and you can see just a little wedge of a piece right here that I just love. And Louis, you and I were talking the other day about, we realized that we met at Ear Taxi in 2016.
Yes,
so
yes.
It somehow, I don't know, auspicious that we're talking on this weekend and we're talking about Ear Taxi, and here's your beautiful art right here, and
art is always oftentimes the great excuse for me to engage another creative. That's in terms of a lot of things that was happening in Air Taxi, and especially you, Jenny, just like, all right, this person is way beyond my scope, but she's out of my league creatively, but I'm still going to talk to her anyway. I'm just doing these scratchy charcoal. But this is where I'm coming from. But so then, getting to know you and getting to work with Picosa, it's sort of it's elevating me, and it's helped me over the years in terms of what I'm doing, being like, well, kind of like if Picosa thinks I'm cool and they're inviting me to things, and so are these other bands and some of these other ensembles, then I guess there's something to this. I don't take a whole lot of ownership to what I'm doing in a lot of ways, because I kind of feel like it's, in some ways, like when music is played, it's there, and then it's everybody else's there for a while. So I feel less like a composer when I'm doing things, but it's just great to sort of, again, there's that push and pull of being able to interact with you and the ensemble, Picosa. That's been fantastic over the years, at Maze Lake, and these are, for me, there are documents like they're like behind you, or like here tonight, and I can look at these later on with almost like somebody else's eyes, or my own eyes, but not ownership of the piece, and go, well, that's interesting. I wonder what the story is behind that.
Right.
And it ends up being inspired by, another creative who's been inspired by another creative. And, that sort of, I love that tethering to the past, to the ancestors, that just leads you to. That often happens when I'm dealing with members of the AACM, and we were talking about Talib Ziad the other day, and just that the tribal truth of what's going on in Chicago is, we're talking about tenacity and survival and stuff like that, and Chicago's doing it, through all this pandemic stuff that's going to probably linger. It's going to linger into next year, and we're all improvising. We're all adapting to what's going on, and we're standing. We're standing proud. We're making work. That's what else can you do? It's your, not only is it your job and your duty, but to use your gifts to keep that going is so very important. And I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad
and me too.
And I'm glad I can do it. Thank you. Speaking of Picosa, I know that there's been a lot of things that have been postponed and moved on to things. Can we look forward to a little bit of that next year, or is that going to sort of still be in the?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
We're it's so funny because we did my last concert was with Picosa at DePaul, and we were literally like, so this pandemic thing, I don't know, and then all of a sudden it was like the world just shut down.
Yeah.
And so we made the decision as an ensemble to do essentially everything. We're not actually doing a live stream concert, but we're doing everything shy of a live stream concert. So we actually spent the summer interviewing a lot of composers, including Shulamit and Gusty and many other wonderful composers. And we spent a lot of time putting together just different blasts that Andrea has coordinated. I won't let the cat out of the bag because she's got some great ideas. And we are actually going to pick up again live in the new year. So we pick up in 2021. And we'll be back at DePaul. We're back at North Central. We're back at Elmhurst University now. And we're also going to be partnering with Driehaus Museum and potentially one other venue as well. I think our first concert is going to be live streamed. And then after that will be some sort of hybrid. And we have the wonderful Dan Nichols, who's by our side in all things recorded and live streamed, because I think he's a genius. So anyway, look for us in March. Will be our first concert back, but we'll have tons of stuff floating out there pretty soon. We already released, I should say, we've finished all of our composer interviews, but we released one interview with Chinati Ung, who is a Cambodian American composer, and he literally changed my life. His piece Spiral for cello, percussion, and piano literally changed my life. And big reason why I'm in new music at all is actually because of that one piece. So he is actually very, very special to me as well. And he's out at UCSD, which is a super hot composition department right now. They seem like they're just all over the place. And he showed up to our concert at DePaul. I was absolutely stunned. He and his wife and several friends, and that was just an incredible moment in my life. I just was grinning ear to ear the entire time. So that's amazing.
That's stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
Jennie, thank you so much for coming down to the end of our hour. Man, it went by fast.
It did.
I feel like I'm going to just play this again, and I don't know, I kind of want to do some more painting here, but I'm inspired. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Thursday Night Life Music. My name is Louis Achenbach. On the program tonight, we've had Jennie Oh Brown. Thank you so much, Jennie, for spending this time with me, with us. We appreciate it. We love what you do.
Thank you, Louis. That means a lot. And I love what you do too. I'm very proud to have this. This is like the first thing you see when you walk in my house.
Well, that's nice. That's cool. I'll post this tomorrow, and if you dig it, it's yours, of course.
Oh. Well, thank you so much. It's always a joy to chat with you, Louis.
Thank you, Jennie. Until next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.